So, I'd been rewatching Better Call Saul recently, a gorgeous looking TV show in general, but what caught my filmmaking eye this time around was this moment. There was just something about that carefully placed shaft of bright white light that struck me. It's the way it isolates the two characters. It's this huge empty car park, but that carefully crafted pool of light kind of gives these two their own little safe space to just breathe together. And the thing is, this is the exact type of creative lighting that I love to see, and also want to try out for myself. So I got researching, and that's how I came across this. An optical snoot. That's such a fun word. And so, I'm sure you're wondering, what is an optical snoot? Well, I'd always known about spotlight attachments, the kind of thing that you see people put on more expensive lights, like with Aperture's spotlight attachment. That's a pretty popular one. It always looked incredible and something that I always wanted to try out for myself, but they were always way out of my budget, so yeah. Luckily nowadays it turns out there's much cheaper variants, like the optical snoot. It is essentially a watered down spotlight attachment. It takes your light source and focuses it down into a hard controllable beam. Of course, they do have their downsides compared to the more expensive spotlight attachments. The main thing being that they do decrease the output of the light because they're going through the optics and everything. You may have seen some YouTube filmmakers, for example, use them in interview setups to maybe add a bit of natural light into the background, maybe along a wall, or sometimes they focus it down so much that it just lights like the outline of a lamp or a bush or something. And today, I'm going to be testing out this lighting attachment by recreating 3 iconic shots from pop culture. Of course, one of them being the shot from Better Call Saul, but also 2 iconic films as well as that. So to start, I'm diving in the deep end by attempting a shot from cinematographer Roger Deakins. That being the opening shot from the James Bond film, Skyfall. I thought this would be a great place to start because, well, I already have a hallway. And also because I love the James Bond films, so yeah. So I set up a camera and spent a good while figuring out a decent focal length and aperture. The idea is to have the background pretty out of focus because that's how it is in the film. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Wow, I look just like Daniel Craig. And I made sure to constantly double check the reference on my phone. I can't get to my phone. Oh, I need the reference. I need that reference. Okay, this feels like James Bond. Oh, he looks that way. He's like... But he also has the hallway in the shot. I need to push that background a bit further away. So I sacrificed a bit of that background blur by replacing the 25mm for a slightly wider zoom lens. Oh yeah, that looks so much better. Alright, we're gonna set up a light over there. I also started out by having the optical snoot on an Amaran 60D light. That's too dark. I need a brighter light. So I immediately tried swapping it out, and that's when I remembered, because of the harsh amount of light passing through the optics, these optical snoots can get quite warm. Oh no, that is getting hot. I've got an idea. Can I just wrap it in this? Oh, I got it guys. So yeah, we'll just swap the 60D out for the 100D. Okay, that's on 100. That's gotta be right. Oh, nearly. I'm a lot smaller than I thought. The 100D isn't that much brighter than the 60D, but at least with the window exposure looking like this in the background, it's not that bad for now. God, why am I so small? Then it was time to figure out how to act like James Bond. Ow! Okay, that does get hot. Just gonna run it under a tap for a little bit. That looks so cool. I look so cool. Oh man, I think we might have it. That's blown out now. I think the sun has changed a bit. It's gotten a bit brighter, so after realizing just how uncontrollable the sunlight at the back was, and giving the Optical Snoot a few minutes to cool down, I eventually settled on swapping it out for the slightly more powerful 200D, and ran a couple more final tests. Okay, no joke, I've spent quite a while on this, like probably 2 to 3 hours. So I'm probably gonna just use it like this, even though there is a little bit here. I think that's gonna work okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna go get dressed into my Bond outfit and we'll do the shot. Not bad. That's cool. I'm gonna go again because it's so much fun. One more. Just one more, I promise. This is it. Anyway, let's move on to the next shot. The next shot being the one that started it all. Now, looking at the Skyfall shot and then this Better Call Saul one, you might be wondering, clearly that's a different type of light, right? I mean, maybe it was, but that's the beauty of an optical snoot. It essentially starts out as a much larger spotlight, like this. That's it on full brightness. A decent way. I kind of feel like Sam Smith in the Spectre promo. But then, at least with the ones with the adjustable slits, you can carefully adjust the slits to craft that specific formation of light. That doesn't look too bad. Huh. No, it gets cut off too much. We need to bring that a bit more that way, so this light doesn't cut off the shadow so much. Like considerably more this way. It's already starting to get hot. Like, it's starting to feel like the scene, which is good. The bottom half is a lot softer than the top half in the actual reference. I feel like you have to put something in front of the light just towards the bottom so it softens up, because like, look, if I put my hand in front of it, just along the bottom, it does soften up quite a bit, which looks a lot more like the reference. So I might need to put a flag or something just in front at the bottom to create that softer edge. So I grabbed the trusty 5-in-1 reflector and tried to position it along the bottom edge of the light in a way where it would just slightly soften that sharp outline of light. I then turned my focus to the actual set. I do need to block out those curtains, they're creating too much random shadows. So in theory, this should black out the light leaking into the room. Oh god, there's so much squeezing to make this video. Wait, actually, I don't need stands. I can just throw this over that. In theory. Oh, sounded so much easier in my head. It'll do. So much cobweb. I didn't focus on recreating the full-on parking lot of the actual scene, instead mainly focusing on the actual lighting technique. I'm always making a mess. But it's a productive mess. That's good. I think that is good. I then made some final adjustments to the edge of the light, messed up the room as usual in the process, and then got my Better Call Saul outfit on, which ended up being the same as my James Bond outfit. And finally, I went for the shot. I have no idea how to smoke. Lawyers are down on their luck, at least in Better Call Saul, so it's like, you gotta be stressed. Life is tough. That's what people do. It does kind of look more like a stage play version of Better Call Saul. You know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And I was happy with the shot. I'm happy. I was not only surprised at just how easy it was to light with the optical snoot, but also just how easy it was to recreate that specific shaft of light that I'd been inspired by in the first place. Again, I'm not saying this is a perfect recreation or anything. I do keep wondering if the light should have been more diffused a little bit. I'd also say that the light on the show is much brighter and larger as well. But then again, they're, probably using more expensive stuff than me. And then I wanted to try one more setup. And I thought, what better shot to replicate than one of the most iconic uses of this type of lighting in film history? The shot from Dracula. Arguably the most famous lighting achieved using this type of technique. Again, not something that I'd say they used this type of lighting attachment to do this, back in 1931 at least. In fact, I believe most of this would have been using flags again, similar to how we softened the light earlier on in the Better Call Saul scene. But this is something where this cheap, compact attachment can come in use for. This Dracula shot was one of the first notable examples of what became known as an eye light, or a slit light, or slash light, or Shatner light. I don't know. It seems like one of those type of techniques that people can't quite make their mind up over naming. This is a similar setup to the Skyfall lighting that we already did, but to create that striking imagery for Dracula in particular, I did realize that we needed more than just this one light. I employed the use of two smaller lights to either side of me as backlights, and then added a little bit of fill light to the rest of my face. That is creepy. I look so creepy. I then stepped into my Dracula outfit, which was, again, my James Bond and Better Call Saul outfit, just with an added medal and fangs. And so here it is.
Ouch! It's just a scratch.
I am Crisis Chris. By this point, I'd become familiar and comfortable with the optical snoot, and now that I'm done with the recreations, I can totally see where this attachment will come in handy in the future. Since starting all of this, I've started noticing these types of lighting rigs being used in all sorts of shows and films. It's just a very fun, creative tool and addition to my lighting kit, and genuinely something that I'd recommend anybody interested in lighting at least try out. And the thing is, I didn't even get onto the whole Gobo feature of this whole thing. Gobo's basically been the other selling point of these attachments, and also used to create even more variety and effects with your light. I'm probably going to do a whole other video just on those, so make sure to stick around and subscribe. So yeah, maybe see you guys next time.